wanted to welcome Orlee to this conversation. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me over. Actually,
Thank
I've
you for
listened to
accepting
some
the
of your.
invite. Thank you for accepting the invite and showing up. You're a star. We've heard about you so much, so we can't wait to have this conversation. So if you can kick us off and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you come from, how did you wind up with Stor.ai, what was the motivation, so on and so forth. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Orlee, and I'm the CEO at Stor.ai. I've been with the company for the past 6 years, pretty much from the very beginning. I started off as the VP product, and so just give me a chance to speak about our product, and you'll have a hard time stopping me. I've spent the last 20 years of my career in some of the most well-known startups in Israel, with very cool technology, many in the retail space. Some actually have been acquired by companies like NCR, like Apple. I also spend my time lecturing in universities around product management, product design, and I mentor at Google Launchpad at Tel Aviv. So that's about me.
Wow. So educationally, Orlee, what's your background?
That's really, I'm very interdisciplinary, because I started off as a textile designer, a fashion designer, and then I did my second degree in kind of the MIT of Israel. And then from then on, I spent the next 20 years in the high-tech industry.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you're bringing fashion to e-commerce.
I think that, I am actually, and I'm bringing a new perspective. And I think that anybody that moved, from different verticals brings a new kind of insights and perspectives to the field. And I think it's good. It's refreshing.
Totally. I guess, Gary, we know something about that.
Yes, yeah, just a little bit, but no, I'd agree with Orlee. What Orlee was just saying, that I think it's both important and really timely to bring a fresh perspective to grocery e-commerce, online shopping for groceries. As we've talked before, I think a lot of retailers have taken advantage of their experiences over the past year plus during the pandemic. We've talked about the COVID pandemic as sort of a stress test for online grocery. And I think a lot of retailers have come away, recognizing that there are some issues. I think a lot of issues are on user experience and other things. So I think someone like Orlee bringing a fresh perspective to this whole thing is very timely.
Awesome. That's awesome. So Orlee, did Stor.ai start off in Israel? Was your first few clients in Israel or in the United States?
Yes, actually, Stor.ai, just to give some insights, is an end-to-end e-commerce, digital commerce platform. And we focus, we provide an e-commerce solution, which is very tightly integrated into the retailers, the grocers' internal systems. And that's crucial for grocery, because they have those huge catalogs, very complex, with changing inventories, pricing specials, and very powerful fulfillment solution, which is now becoming more and more crucial, with this whole business scaling up. So yes, we did start, and we did start this business in Israel. Israel is kind of our sandbox, but at the end of the day, we're serving 8 out of the largest grocers in the country, each with hundreds of locations. So it started off as, let's test it and come, mature to the US market. And the end of the day, we've actually have some pretty impressive customers here.
That's fantastic. That's great. And I've kind of followed your story and been very impressed with what you guys have done. Obviously, we're excited about finding common places to work at here in the United States as well. But so what do you think makes Stor.ai different? How is it different from other e-commerce solutions out there?
There are a lot of aspects. I think that one of the important things that we're bringing to the table is the end-to-end approach. many, I think, players in the market still see the solution as an e-commerce solution. But e-commerce was the innovation of the beginning of the century. And what the solution that we're looking is starts with marketing, goes on to the e-commerce, to the fulfillment, and then merges into the in-store experience. And after the pandemic, when customers are, feel much more comfortable with this digital transformation, people expect to come into the store and get the same experience they have online in the store. So it's funny, when we started off and designed this platform really years back, we took a very deep look into the store and tried to digitize the real world into the e-commerce platform. And now I think that it's the opposite thing is happening. If you look at Walmart, the way they designed their stores, the inspiration comes from the online. And that's exactly what we're doing now, taking what we've learned in the e-commerce platform and bringing it into the in-store. So let's just bring some real examples of what I actually mean. Just imagine that you're walking into the store with your smart cart, and you're walking through the aisles, and suddenly you're walking. And let's just imagine I'm a customer that is really, that I really like a certain pasta brand. As I'm walking next to that brand, I will suddenly get on my screen a pop-up with a coupon, with a special. So it's personalized and it's contextual to the position I am within the store. So it's as if you're getting this personal digital assistant walking next to you as you're shopping. And the same goes, you're picking a product off the shelf. You never know if it's on special or not. But if it's 2 for $10 and you've just picked one, the system will actually tell you, hey, take another one, instead of you checking out and then discovering that you didn't benefit from the specials. So it's like bringing all those experiences that we kind of feel very comfortable with online to the in-store experience. So what we're trying to do now is like kind of shift everything around and create and provide the same user experience, customer experience across all touch points. That's what we call, putting the customer at the front, at the center.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And Shekar, you and I have talked about that a lot in the past, right? The need for, as all these digital touch points have grown that retailers have access to, the need to bring them all together, unify them, provide a common user experience, communication, et cetera, across them.
Yeah, I look at it as 3 buckets, right, Orlee? So I think data, experience, execution, right? So you want to be able to pull together data from all sources, so you can have a centralized intelligence platform. The experience should be common irrespective of you going e-commerce or in the store. There's kind of like a merging, and the execution needs to be leveraging the aspects of the data and the engagement to deliver an execution of wherever the customer chooses to execute on that promotion or coupon or information that's being presented to them, right? So
I agree. And, and because e-commerce for years, really, nothing was really happening in online grocery for years. It was kind of the black sheep of e-commerce. And, right. Apparel was booming, consumer electronics, and every expert was going around saying, oh, people are not going to buy food online. It's just not going to happen. And that's the reason. And it was such a small fragment of the grocer's business that it kind of evolved as a sidekick, and what we see today is a fragmented experience. So you get one customer online and one customer in the store and one in the marketing communication. And what we're trying to do is bring everything together to what we call customer first commerce. Again, the customer at the center, getting that seamless experience across all touch points.
Yeah, and one of the other things I found interesting when I look at Stor.ai is the breadth of the different partnerships and relationships that you've been able to bring together, right? to help retailers. So you mentioned smart carts just a minute ago, but partners both on, let's say, the front end, in the shopping experience, but also on the back end for last mile delivery, et cetera.
Yes, we've kind of built, when I talk about, if you look at the e-commerce, on the one hand, we've built, and I mentioned it as I presented SelfPoint, those very strong integrations into the internal systems, the POS, the ERP, the loyalty programs. But on the other hand, integrations into third parties. We don't have to develop everything, and there's so many opportunities. And what this ecosystem of partnerships and integrations provide, it's like plug and play. The retailer can have these building blocks that they can just make a decision. Okay, I want this last mile provider and I want this payment provider, and let's just put it all together and build the solution that is right for me. So
basically, Lego blocks, right? So
yes, and to mention one more thing,
they all fit into each other, and you guys have already pre-built these integrations, so it's easy 1, 2, 3 for the retailer to put the model together into a solution.
Precisely. And when this business is growing, when we see it with our customers, it's, this business today is 10% of an average of our customers, which, if we're talking a year ago, it was maybe 3%. So it's huge, and it's suddenly becoming very strategic, and they want to make the right decisions, and they want to customize around their needs. So these building blocks, these integrations, enable them to do that customization, which is important, very. And I would also mention our fulfillment. I've spoken about it, and to my objective and humble opinion, it's really the best solution around there. And when this business is scaling, operations and fulfillment is becoming so huge and so important. You can't waste time. So enabling our grocers to take 1 to 12 orders at a time, and split their store into zones, and provide very powerful dashboards to manage these pickers is becoming a must, mandatory.
Right. So talking about fulfillment, so where do you think grocers can optimize to improve the profitability of e-commerce? Is it on the execution, the interface side, fulfillment, supply chain? Because I think, when you think about real-time inventory, grocers have a tough time maintaining real-time inventory. And I hear a lot of people talking about substitutions as being a problem of e-commerce and fulfillment, right? So where do you think that's going?
Well, there's so many places that this can be. It's like profitability and also scale up. It's a combination. Right. But the grocers have these spaces that, first of all, we're talking about fulfillment. This is crucial. This is a crucial point. And again, we're in our solution, and I see we're trying to find all those points where pickers are wasting time. Just to give you an example, the picker just came to the shelf, and one of the places where they're wasting time is that looking for a product that is out of stock. So with the algorithms that we have in place, we can predict that a certain product is going to be out of stock. So we can alert the picker, hey, this is probably out of stock. So they won't spend that even half a minute, even 1 minute looking for that product, just moving along. And once this product, again, we find that it's being sold in the POS, again, talking about the integrations into our internal systems, then it's going to reappear. And you talked about substitution, another very big pain point. And it's not only in terms of customer satisfaction. So just imagine that picker standing in front of the shelf, and now they have to gamble. Which product should I put instead of the missing one, of the out of stock one? And the approach now today is to provide the picker with personalized options. So, the picker doesn't know me, doesn't know my preferences, but the system and the AI algorithms do know it. So providing the picker with the best recommendation to replace it with makes the probability of the end customer being much more happier, much higher. So this is just, two places, but guiding the store, putting in the planogram and guiding the store, the picker through the store and optimizing the picking route. These are all places where, you can save time and hence the chances of, the whole operations being much more profitable.
Yeah, certainly efficiency and profitability is something that every retailer I talk to is focused on right now. As you called out, as online has become a more significant portion of their total sales, the push is on now to make it profitable. At the same time, retailers know you can't really save your way to success, right? That equally important, and ultimately, I think even more important, becomes the opportunity to continue to drive revenue, grow sales through the online channel, through broader digital engagement and so on, which I think links back to and speaks to this whole idea of user experience and consistency.
Yeah, right. And I think there is a point where this business scales up to a point where starting to apply MFCs, micro fulfillment centers, makes a lot of sense. So when you've reached the point where 20% of your business is already online or a certain store, that starts to clog the aisles with pickers. The store doesn't have, they're not replenishing the shelves quickly enough. And then it starts to make sense to build, those MFCs and to create that hybrid operation where your best sellers, your fast movers are in the MFC, and all the slow movers and large items or fresh items are still picked in the store. And this is something that we are also doing, working with MFC companies in order to build that hybrid solution, which I believe, and I think that everybody in the market does, is really the future of where things are going as this business grows.
Yeah, Orlee, so you've got, I think, a pretty unique perspective on this whole space, given, you're working across different markets. Would you say that the Israeli marketplace is more mature when it comes to grocery e-commerce than the US market, or maybe other markets that Stor.ai plays in?
I think that, if I try to differentiate the markets, I think that one of the characteristics of the Israeli market is that they're very innovation savvy and technology savvy. So the fact that we have the sandbox of retailers that are fighting every time that we release a new feature, they're fighting over each other, who's going to be the first to try it out, is amazing. And they're very, they're very opinionated, they're very experienced. So the opportunity to have this audience, these customers working with us and building and calibrating the solution before we move it out to the US is great. In terms of maturity, I don't think there's a huge difference.
Okay. All right. So Shekar, there's something else that Stor.ai does or is involved with that we may not have talked about yet, but they've created a unique model over in the Israeli marketplace in partnership with Unilever, one of the big brand manufacturers. Orlee, if you would take just a minute and describe to me, or describe to our audience, what you're doing there, because I think there are parallels here with, opportunities in other markets.
Yeah. So, what you see, I think that we see it all over, that CPGs and wholesalers want to stay at the play the game of e-commerce and want to be part of it. And they want direct to consumer. And they're looking for solutions to implement it. And what we've done, with the Unilever, and this is kind of a global initiative, is what, a few years back, what Unilever kind of detected is that, people are shifting from doing those huge shopping, shoppings in the Costco's into their local grocery markets. And what they found out that they have they have no visibility to what's happened in that independent grocers. So they started this program, which actually which has, I think it has the mission is very nice, is helping independent grocers through the digital transformation. And the truth of the matter is that the small players in the market have very little resources to do it themselves. They don't have the marketing capabilities. They don't have the manpower and even not the time to just stop and say, okay, I need to do it in order to survive in the future. So what we've built is a hub, and this hub really aggregates hundreds of grocers. So just imagine that, I'm just describing the end result first. The end customer goes to this hub, it's called Shoppo. They type in their address, and what they get is a set of all the grocers that serve their location. And they can select any one of them and navigate it to their website in order to start the shopping. Now, what does Unilever get out of the deal? Unilever gets all the information around their sales. They get all customer data, and this is unique. The opportunity to, they're looking for direct to consumers. They're also getting very important information around shelf replenishment. So just imagine that a certain Unilever product is off the shelf. With our picking solution and our algorithms, we can alert them, live at push notification, this product is missing. Your sales rep needs to call and send the box over. So these are things that can even improve their operations. Now, another important thing is that it includes a lot of marketing capabilities. So, and we're talking about, first of all, inbound marketing. So Unilever has the opportunity to start advertising itself and within this platform. And we're talking about hundreds of locations. So this is a very impressive, and what the retailers are getting in return, they're getting the marketing funds. So Unilever and many other CPGs in the country are advertising on the platform and pushing to those retailers the marketing funds. So the whole business becomes much more profitable. So Unilever gets a huge amount of data and the ability to market and in hundreds of locations. And on the other hand, the grocers are getting the opportunity to move online and to get these marketing and funds from the CPGs. So it's a very interesting program. And during the pandemic, we've heard time after time grocers coming to us and say, "You've saved our lives." Really, we would be out of business without this taking place.
That's awesome. That's pretty amazing. So the I guess moving on from fulfillment to the actual technology and adoption of the technology. Obviously in the last 18 months we've seen an explosion in terms of shoppers going to e-commerce and suddenly realizing that there's a whole new way I can get grocery. What do you see as, if you were to look forward and say 18 months from now, what do you see as the evolution of e-commerce? Where is it going?
So, we are doing, just, to relate to that, we are doing, Israel is unique in terms of the pandemic. We're really over it because most of the population is vaccinated. We are back to normal. So we are kind of the crystal ball, at least, 3, maybe 6 months ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. So, and what we're doing today is actually, and I don't have the results yet, so this is going to be an opportunity to get me.
Right.
Yeah. So we're doing a very interesting research with Oxford University on taking these results and really understanding, first of all, what happened during the pandemic and what is happening now when things are back to normal. And, because that's the $1 million question, everybody's asking, okay, business was booming because of the pandemic. Now what's going to happen, the exact same question you're asking about, even in terms of, there's going to be a very big drop in sales online? Are people going to go back to the stores? So and it's going to be out soon. It's going to be very interesting what happens. Actually, from the numbers that I see now, I don't see a big drop, surprisingly enough. There is a certain decline, but it's not dramatic at all. So people have grown used to purchasing online, and they understand, and now that they feel comfortable with it, it's, they can save time. It's always the busy mom in front of us. She wants to save time, she wants the convenience, and she can do shopping at 11 o'clock p.m., when the kids are sleeping in bed. So that's in terms of what's going to happen in 18 months from today in e-commerce. I think that I hope that what's going to happen, what we see today, by the way, is that the market is dominated by the giants, by the very big players in the market, by Amazon, by Walmart, by Instacart. Instacart is kind of a service provider, but in the end of the day, they're a huge player with the $265 million funding raise and the almost $40 billion valuation. They're becoming a threat. And what's happening today, years back when Amazon acquired Whole Foods, the whole market panicked, and many grocers made a decision to work with Instacart or the Instacarts of the world, the lookalikes. And at that point, it made sense because it was such a small fraction of their business that, it was okay. It was okay to make a bad or a wrong decision because it didn't have a real influence on and as this business is growing, it's changing. And these retailers that are still working with Instacart are, first of all, they don't have any control of their customers' data, and they don't have any control of their customers' loyalty. Now, I'm sure that you've both read the Barkley report, and which is great, really. Only I have, I've really enjoyed it, very thorough. And one of the things that they've done is they did a cross US survey, and they asked the end customers a very simple question: what happens if tomorrow morning the grocer that you are your favorite grocer that you shop at Instacart just disappears from the platform? Just imagine a Publix, yeah? And 43% of the users, the respondents said, "Oh, we would just move to another grocer." So it means that the customer's loyalty is to Instacart. And Publix, just as an example, that worked so hard to bring all their customers online, just lost them for another grocer on the platform or for Instacart. So, and the last thing, which I think is the most serious, is that these retailers are not building their logistical and technological sophistication. And when they wake up, it may be too late. And, we all know the story of Toys R Us. In 2000, they outsourced their online business to Amazon. And it made sense, again, just that the way it made sense 3 years ago, because it was a high growing business, but it was tiny. So why bother? And when they decided to move the business back, it was too late. So I really hope that grocers wake up and bring this business back home and make it their own, where they're at the front, it's their brand. And I think that is because otherwise it's going to be a market that is going to be dominated by just a handful of giants. And I don't think that serves anybody, not the end customer, and definitely not the grocers.
Sure. So what about in terms of the experience? Do you think the experience is going to change? I mean, we had on the podcast a few weeks ago somebody talking about voice and conversational commerce and how that might alter the shopping experience, the brand experience, so to say, right? Do you see that playing a big part going forward into e-commerce, screenless commerce, if you will?
Well, I don't think it's in the next 18 months. And, I've had a lot of experience with voice interfaces, and I think there's so many challenges there. It's the first interaction is very simple when you ask the first interaction, but it's still not conversational. That's the problem. And I don't think that any player in the market today solved this issue, and there's still a way to go. So I think it's limited in terms of what we can really achieve from it. Scotty, beam me over. It's like it's not there yet.
Right. Yeah. Right. But so you see mobile and the web really still dominating, with dominant ways of interacting with the service, right?
Yes, I do see it, but I think that there's going to be a lot of calibrations and a lot of additions. Let's talk about, we talked about, this blending of the online and the store. So just imagine, one of the things that, customers hate the most is standing in line. So if you could just take your mobile app and just pre-order from the specialty department, from the butcher, from the deli, and come over to the store and just get that notification without standing in line, it's like a dream. It's a dream. It's using those digital tools, making the in-store better. Or even the endless aisle, which people have been speaking about forever. But I do believe it's a very big thing that is still waiting and is going to burst out, because one of the strong things about grocery is the retention. People come to buy in the store 4 times a month. Now, there's no website, no other vertical where customers are coming to a website in that frequency.
Right.
So using this grocery platform to enable, consumer electronics, apparel, to sell everything in that grocery shop. Suddenly, the grocery shop becomes a mall, and if you're talking about profitability, that may be a major key, because they're like selling their store space, their digital store space, to many providers, and getting revenue from that. So that can actually fund the whole business.
Right. I mean, the road to profitability could also be with private label, right? So which is the retailer, I think, especially among the millennials, they don't care so much about the brand names as much as they do about transparency and quality of the product that they're buying. And clearly, retailers, and we've seen it at Kroger, their private label has exploded, same with Wegmans and a lot of the stores that I go to shop at, where, my wife goes to shop and she doesn't mind picking up the store brand because she doesn't see a difference between that and a CPG brand. And clearly there's more profitability. So I'm wondering if e-commerce becomes a vehicle for retailers to push private label more, from the perspective of differentiating, bigger margins. And if I can do 50% of my volume on e-commerce on a private label, this becomes a profitable business for me, right? That could be a viable option, right, Gary?
Oh, absolutely. That could be a real game changer. And right. I think again, for good or bad, the bigger retailers understand that opportunity, and I think are moving in that direction. I think it's up to the smaller retailers, regional retailers now, to identify and go after that opportunity, right? To leverage the different tools they have to promote their private label product across all their different types of digital engagement, and absolutely within the whole online shopping experience.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, one of the largest retailer grocery in Israel are promoting their private label very aggressively online and doing an amazing job with it.
Right.
And yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yes,
There's
so
no
it's
change
definitely.
in the customer experience. There's nothing changing. All you're doing is buying a different product. So technologically, you don't have to do anything. You just got to figure out, how do I put this front and center, and
Right, but Shaker, to your point, those points of margin difference, right? An additional 3, 5, 10 points or even more of margin can absolutely make the difference between online being unprofitable or at best break even versus a profitable line of business for retailers.
yeah, because honestly, until I think pre-pandemic, e-commerce was more a defensive strategy, which is, I need to have e-commerce because I don't want to lose customers, but you were losing money on it. But it was kind of like, this is the only way I stay in business, right? To where now it's become a necessity. And now you got to seriously think about, how do I make this profitable? Because it's a large enough chunk of my business that I can't afford to be losing money on this.
And I have an interesting, just to raise a question here, I've heard it from a grocer just a few days ago, and they said, profitability, not interesting. And they said grocers have so many categories in which they're losing money. Like he said, like, we're losing money on the meat department, on the fresh meat department. We're losing money on the baby food department. But we still keep it on. Why? Because customers are not going to walk into the store without having these two categories.
Right.
So he said, and he said, in my opinion, e-commerce is becoming very similar to that category. A retailer cannot afford, it's part of the service they provide. So if it's not profitable, it still needs to be part of the business, part of the service. And I'm just, it's a thought-provoking, I hope, direction, but I think that now it's it's like it goes without saying, and I think that in terms of when you have e-commerce and you're applying it into the stores which have less revenue, are not performing as well as the others, suddenly it's bringing in a lot of revenue. It circulates the inventory. It does a lot of good things to customer service. So there's a lot of side benefits that that exist there that, I'm not sure that today are calculated into those, kind of profitability. Yeah.
Right. I guess what we're talking about is the halo effect, right? So a shopper who goes and shops online and also shops in the store, are we leveraging data from one experience into another? Right, and then magnifying the ability to do that, and so you may be losing money in one transaction, but the net gain is higher, right? So I guess those are the things we'll look at. Gary, as usual, we've been having a fantastic conversation, and I think we've got so many people lined up to come back for a second round of this podcast that I think we're going to be busy for the next couple of years.
And I think we're going to have to add Orlee to that list, and certainly to speak about the study that she just referenced that they're doing in Israel.
Yeah, that should be fascinating. So, Orlee, I just want to, our listeners are, I think they're starting to enjoy some of these conversations as much as Gary and I are. We kind of do this selfishly because we get to talk to interesting people like you and just have fun. Whether the rest of them are enjoying it or not, who cares? Actually, do care, but I'm sure our listeners are having a great time listening to amazing stuff from Orlee, and we're definitely going to get you back. But we wanted to kind of wind down and wrap up. So Orlee, for apart from going to Store.ai and people who are out there listening, retailers who are listening, want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you guys? And would any pointers to them?
So you can use you can use our website. It's exactly Store.ai, the way it's written next to my name, and just type this address and the website will appear. And you can schedule a demo, and you can also contact me directly. It's Orlee with a ORLEE at Stor.ai, and you can send me direct emails directly. So I would really love to contact anybody who has questions and would like to learn more about the platform.
Yeah, I can vouch. I've seen a demo of the Stor.ai platform. I think it's pretty amazing. Certainly worth checking out. And I think, like to Gary's point, it's a very broad platform, right? It's end-to-end digital commerce. Very exciting. So anyway, I wanted to thank you again for coming on the show, taking 45 minutes of your time and talking to us and the audience about this. I'm definitely going to get you back. I need to know what's on that Oxford University study here in the next couple of months.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. And it was just as fun as I expected.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, what you want to do is you want to make sure you send us your mailing address. I know it's in Israel, but we'll try to get it to you. But you'll get a coffee mug with the Retail Perch logo on it. So we make sure that when you come back.
Oh, nice.
Right there. You get an official Retail Perch mug.
That's right.
Actually, I'm spending most of my time today now in the US. So
there you go. So you kind of save us a little bit on shipping then. So.
Exactly. That's me.
You spend a couple of $1,000, we save a couple of bucks. That seems like a pretty. Anyway, listen, thank you so much for being on the show. Make sure to join us every Monday and connect with us at the Retail Perch on Instagram and Facebook.
And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at theretailperch@birdseye.com.
Until next time, this is Shekar.
And this is Gary signing off.